Welcome back, everybody. Lifestyle by SK, where wine, cigars, relationships create the tapestry of extraordinary experience. So, Silent Battles, episode 7, we are on right now. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the pressures of provision. This is going to be a good one for you all out here. Okay. Definitely going to get into it. Go ahead and drum up the discussion because it's absolutely necessary and needed. What we see and what we're going through right now. On board and get started through here. So, for men out there, the question isn't just about how you are doing, it's are you providing? And if the answer feels shaky, so does his entire sense of worth. This is where we're at now. This is where we're at. You've seen the Instagram videos out there of the women talking about they want the man to provide and buy this, buy that, pay for this, pay for that. Pressure of provision. So, from when you're looking at provision as an identity from boyhood, men are taught early on, as I explained in one of the earlier episodes, that their value equals their ability to be able to provide. And so we know that being able to provide means that you have to have some form of currency. So depending on where you are in the world, it's going to be a little bit different for some people. But in order to provide, you have to have something of value. And whether we're looking at it here specifically, money, shelter, protection, the provider role defines manhood. Now, but the expectations that make provision feel less like a responsibility and more like a prison are the men that's doing all this and that's not getting the help that they need in terms of help running the household, help providing. Do they feel like they're in a prison at all? Now, the unspoken pressure that you rarely hear about is, for example, when every bill on the table isn't just pressure and it's not just paper, it's reflection of his manhood. Every job lost feels like a failure to men out there, not just failure in his career, because a man likes to make his own money, and whether he is working a job as a cashier at a local fast food restaurant or in the executive suite of a Fortune 500 company, men like to make their money. Men like to make their money and they like to enjoy it. And whether they like to go fishing or go hunting or spend money on their cars or their boats, they like just being able to have a sense of peace, because men are going to find peace different ways. But if that man loses his job, it takes it out of him, as though he can't take care of the things that he needs to take care of because he's dependent on the income in order to make things work. And so men are going to rarely admit it, but financial instability often hurts their pride more than their pockets. Because every man wants to know they got a little money coming in their pocket to do something with. And even if they can't provide 100%, ladies, and get the things that you are asking for, but the fact that they're able to provide shelter and protection over your head is most of the time enough for some men. This constant pressure, eventually what happens is it begins to take its toll on you. That constant pressure is going to lead to anxiety, burnouts, sleepless nights, as I'm yawning here right now. But the when you start to worry about things because you're worried about how this is going to get paid, how that's going to get paid, how you're going to make ends meet, you don't want to lose your home, you don't want to lose your car, whatever the case may be. You want to be able to get the effective rest that you need, man, because you don't want to have sleepless nights. Sleepless nights means you're not going to be as effective on your job the next day or as effective as you want to be in life. That's going to be a big change for many of you out here. I don't care how much money that you make a year. It doesn't matter to me if you make $35,000 or you make $500,000. It doesn't make a difference to me. The question remains is, how are you taking care of your household? And if you do have a fat family, are they taken care of and you all taken care of overall as a unit? But you can also see that some men overwork themselves. They are getting burned out doing the same thing repetitively over and over again. And they're working themselves to a point where they're collapsing. They are collapsing because what they're doing is they're chasing the next paycheck just to feel enough. You want to see a man struggle, just start looking out in public. And if you ever see a man out there and he's not able to provide for his family, he's going to do whatever it takes to figure out a way for them to be able to get whatever it is that they need so they can see the next day. He's going to make it happen. Keep this in mind as you're going through this storm that you're going through, man. If you're out there and you just lost your job, see what men do. They're going to go find something to pick the pieces together. They lose a good job and they don't have an option to get a job that paid the equivalent amount. They're going to go find a couple of jobs in and outs to pull the resources together so they can then be able to get that pressure off their mind and fulfill the necessary duties that they need to fulfill at home. But others, they shut down emotionally, and they shut down emotionally real quick. But what you have to look at is not only they're shutting down real quick, but believing their only value is what's in their wallet is even much more deadlier. It's much more deadlier in a way because when you are in need of something and you can't afford to get it, it has hurt you on the inside. You're going to try and figure out a way to make ends meet. See, men, they're going to get out here. They're going to cut some yards. They're going to do a little bit of odd jobs, like a little bit of carpentry, maybe a little bit of plumbing, a little bit of electrical work. Go cut some yards. Go do construction. They're going to figure it out to at least bring something in the house. Because men are not going to be picky in terms of their work per se. They're going to be picky in terms of how they can provide, because they want to make sure that they can still be able to be safe and come home at the end of the night. Now, as we look at the provision aspect of this, there are some things that I want you to most definitely understand. So when you're looking at provision and you're looking at just the standard definition of it, and I don't want to give you my version of it, but when you look at the word provision, it's basically the act of providing or supplying something for use, or the amount or things supplied or provided. So people may, for example, they're gonna add something to it. To maybe, in my terms, what I've seen is like, if you're provisioning something, that means that you're adding to it. And so when you look at the real provision, or when the real provision is bigger than money, it's guidance, protection, emotional stability, and leadership. But a man's worth isn't just limited to his paycheck. I mean, it's nice because the man can buy what he needs to buy, make sure the home good, got some good groceries there, kids fed, wife happy if he's married, and he just want his peace. He may go chill at one of his homeboys' house and have a drink and just talk a bunch of nonsense. That's going to be peace. But to the legacy he builds in his home and community. So if that man isn't worth, or his worth isn't limited to his paycheck, his worth is going to be tied towards his legacy that he builds in his home and in his community, because he want to be respected and be known as a pillar in his community. If you ever heard people say, hey, my grandfather was a pillar in the community, that means that man was bringing something to the table, and people knew him well in the community where they respected the family. And if you had a well-respected figure in your family that people knew, then as you grow older, they say, you know what, he's just like his father, or he's just like his granddad. He's a pillar in the community. And if that pillar is not there, that pillar is cracked or broken, what happens is the roof falls. There's no other way around that. But men must learn that providing is what you do, not who you are. So I heard a interview that Shaquille O'Neal did, and he was talking about fit feelings and who to Shaq talk to. And what he said was so interesting to me. He says that he prefers to provide 100% to take the burden off of her shoulders. And when I heard that, I didn't get offended. Someone like Shaq, or in a financial position like Shaq, can afford to be able to provide 100%. But that same example will not be feasible for someone who makes $40,000 a year and has a family and 3 kids. He cannot provide 100% like Shaq would. So that's where I keep talking about on the channel, that if the woman is also working and say she makes $40,000, then you're putting your money together for an $80,000 household, and you can make it work. But ladies, you definitely have to make sure that you're not just limiting that to the man just providing because that's who he is, because it's not. It's just providing is what the men do, not who they are. Now, overall, as we reflect back and look at this, I definitely want to start the conversation in the comments. So most definitely, please place your comments there so I can make sure that we are getting and hitting right on target with the conversation. So just a reflection and looking back overall, that provision is a very important factor with men in a relationship, but it cannot define who the man actually is. So because of all these different things here, so when you look at provision is going to be important, but it cannot define who the man actually is. But if his worth is only measured in dollars, then the amount of money, once that runs out, so does his identity. So what we have to understand is that no man deserves to be reduced to just a paycheck. So like, listen, subscribe to the channel. Lifestyle by SK, where wine, cigars, relationships create that tapestry of extraordinary experience. Till the next time, have a good one.